We have a special treat today. We not only get to chat with industry guru and Phocuswright Hall of Famer Terry Jones, but also another industry icon, Michelle Peluso. So let's start by introducing Michelle. For those of you who may not know her, perhaps you're new to the industry. Michelle is one of the earliest online travel innovators and entrepreneurs, co-founding last-minute travel service Site 59 in 1999, way before online travel became part of our vernacular. Site 59 was then sold to Travelocity in 2002, and Michelle became CEO of the online travel agency, replacing its founder, Terry Jones. Michelle's gone on to do some great things, is now a powerhouse at IBM, where she is Senior Vice President of Digital Sales and Chief Marketing Officer for Big Blue, but her impact on travel remains. And Terry, of course, has since gone on to fund several businesses, is on many boards, as an author, thought leader, and a frequent participant and contributor to Phocuswright events. So welcome, both of you.
Thank you so much. It is so wonderful to be back. So thank you for having me.
Thanks, we're definitely thrilled to have you both. And I apologize for that long-winded introduction, but this is really, you guys made history, online travel history. So I thought it was worth it. So speaking of history, Michelle, this question for both of you. What inspired you so many years ago to launch Site 59? And Terry, what did you see in Michelle and in Site 59 that caught your eye?
Well, look, who doesn't love the magic and the power of travel? And even though, of course, we're in such a tough environment with COVID and all of us are relegated to, our homes and our neighborhoods, I've always been incredibly passionate about the magic and the power of travel, the opportunity to see how the night sky looks from a totally different part of the world and how that changes you forevermore. So for me, the internet age was dawning. Technology was giving us the opportunity to do things we had never done before. And at Site 59, we were really passionate about getting people off the couch for the weekend, going to see the world, and leveraging all this incredible new technology to make it happen. So it was a time for us of pioneering and creating dynamic packaging, which we used in last minute window. And that was certainly one of the big reasons Travelocity ultimately acquired Site 59. And one of the reasons I was excited to be part of the Travelocity family.
That was definitely good timing.
And well, exactly right. We were interested because they were doing many things we weren't doing, right? They were doing the weekend packages. They were stimulating demand in a different way than we were. And they had moved into dynamic packaging, which suddenly became the hot thing. And they must have known it in advance it was going to be because they built it. And so all of those things were great additions to what we were already doing.
So then, Michelle, you went on to become CEO of Travelocity for 7 years. And also one of the few, perhaps any women in travel and especially travel tech, sadly, very similar to the situation that we have today. But, what then, when did you decide to kind of leave the industry? Did you feel like you accomplished what you set out to do?
Well, being at Travelocity was an incredible privilege. I mean, to get to work with so many really talented individuals. And to Terry's point, everyone remaking travel in this completely new era. It was, the beginning of social and the internet and search and, ultimately mobile. So there were so many new form factors, so many new ways to engage with consumers. So that was really exciting to be able to lead the company for so many years successfully and to be a pioneer, to innovate. We all want to see more women in travel, although I would say there's some stellar examples of amazing women who have stepped up since I was in travel, and I, am always in their corner behind them. For me, it was just one of those things. It was time to kind of tackle a new industry. I went to banking. I was pregnant CEO when I was Travelocity CEO. So, I had been on the road every week for I don't know how many years, and getting back home to New York and ultimately, tackling banking was really exciting for me. But there's never a week or month or year that goes by that I don't think really fondly of my experience in travel, all the lessons I learned about leadership, and that I'm not, firmly in the corner of hoping for a vibrant travel industry to emerge again after this pandemic.
Yeah, so travel obviously has been hit particularly harder than most any other industry. And even though we see the light at the end of the tunnel, we have some good news the past few days in terms of a vaccine, perhaps something for all of us by middle of next year. But still, it's been a huge setback for travel. So, we have these two industry pioneers, and also you both have been at the forefront of digital transformation. So what have you kind of experienced, in your background in terms of, other crises that we've been through that we can apply to where we are today?
I led Travelocity when we went through 9/11. Obviously, business down 70%, very, very tough time, and leveled off about 30% down. So that was a tough time. It was also a tough time a little while after that when the airlines chose to end commissions for air tickets. I think that pushed us even harder. So, these are times when you need to step back and say, where else can I focus? And we're seeing that today. Airbnb redid their search very quickly to push rural homes. Others have changed models. Avis is renting cars to Lyft. It's a time when you refocus. At Travelocity, of course, we pushed very much harder on hotels and on cruises and tours. It changed our focus. And in the end, it was very healthy for us to get through that change. Obviously painful, but crises are times when people, strike out. It's also times when entrenched players change things, like the airlines did by saying, we're going to cut commissions. We have nothing else to lose. Let's do it now.
Oh, yeah, sometimes when your back's to the wall, you make those quick decisions.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly well said. I mean, really interesting companies emerge in these periods, and and that's the opportunity. I would just add a few things to Terry's well said points. One, this idea of reinvention with agility becomes really important. Terry mentioned car companies are becoming logistic companies, pharmacies are becoming health hubs. Airbnb is a fantastic example of pivoting on so many fronts to meet the moment. Secondly, I think the whole industry, but this is true outside of the industry, is thinking how to accelerate the digital transformation journey. We just did at IBM a huge study of 3,800 C-suite execs in a variety of industries, and over 60% of them are saying that what they thought would be a 2-3 year journey to cloud, a 2-3 year journey to AI, a 2-3 year journey to digital transformation will now be a multi-month. That they're really pulling in these windows to say, we have to change, and from the inside out, right? So how do we digitize HR, marketing, how do we automate? So processes from the inside out. Health and safety, of course, will, I think, forever, be a part of this industry in a way that an even more prominent way than maybe it was before. And then the last thing I would just add is agility, empathy, and purpose. Terry certainly had this when he was leading during the crisis. I certainly had more than my fair share of crises, both at Travelocity and at Citi during the financial crisis. But I think those qualities in a leader, agility, empathy, and purpose, become really critical. And perhaps now more than ever, we're seeing, many companies step up to meet the moment of COVID. Many companies step up to meet the moment of Black Lives Matter. So I think it's a moment for real leadership.
And the agility point is a good one, Michelle. One of the major retailers had an 18-month plan for curbside delivery. They did it in 2 days.
Right.
Well, the boss won't forget that, right? That you were able to do that. And that's the kind of agility that's required during, and digital transformation is accelerating during COVID, not slowing.
And, a couple of points, both of you are talking about these bright pockets in travel. And I mean, basically, Michelle, when you sold Site 59, it was a year after 9/11. But that was a time when people were taking these last minute trips. Everybody was on a budget. So it was kind of perfect timing. So
one, packaging, right? We didn't have airline commissions. That wasn't part of our model. We took airline tickets, bundled with hotels, merchant model, marked it up, really varying prices based on supply and demand. So to your point, we pivoted and kind of met the moment with a different business model. So look, there's no doubt that this is a long haul. This is different than 9/11, in my opinion. This will be a longer haul. And I do think some things will be fundamentally changed. I don't think business travel will go back to the way it was. I don't think large scale events will go back to the way they were. So there will be permanent, I think, redistribution of demand and supply in travel. And I think that is different than 9/11. Having said that, I still think all the principles we talked about are true, that there will be opportunity and new companies and existing companies will emerge as leaders, and people are figuring out new ways to reconfigure their assets to meet the moment.
You're absolutely right. I've been a speaker for the last 15 years. I built a studio in my house. I've given 40 virtual speeches. I'm giving more speeches than I did physically. All meetings are going to be hybrid. And back in 1996, we had video conferencing at American Airlines when I was CIO. And we always wondered, when is the moment when this is going to change business travel? Well, this is the moment, right? Everybody's using it. And I think it will change business travel. On the other hand, leisure demand, I think is really pent up. The best example I heard was after England opened up in the summer, the Eurostar website crashed. So many people wanted to book it. So there's a lot of latent demand, certainly on the leisure side. And as soon as, the vaccine kicks in and people feel safe, they're going to go.
So are you in the camp that business travel, especially meetings, though, may never come back to where it was because of the hybrid solution or the virtual meetings?
Well, I think people will make choices. They may say we're having the U.S. meeting, but we're not going to bring the people in from Asia. That doesn't mean they can't go to a hotel in Asia and hook up, that way. And hotels should be really cognizant of that. And I think sharpening their skills around hybrid meetings. But I think that hybrid meetings actually have many more participants in fully virtual meetings than physical meetings ever did. And trade shows are working like crazy. I've been involved in several. So I think people are learning how to do it. But I think a number of people physically attending in one place will probably be down for a long time.
I'll say the following. I talk to CMOs across all industries all the time. And as an event heavy company, which we are at IBM, I don't see anybody saying we're going back to only physical events the way it was. I think to Terry's point, there's new models emerging that I think will be successful. Now, none of us have figured out how to replace events entirely. So when you really think about the interaction and the benefit we all get, obviously, from being together, I don't think anyone would say their data suggests that this entirely virtual world meets the pipeline requirements, et cetera, from events. But I think we will absolutely be in a hybrid situation. I think the same is absolutely true from a business travel perspective as well.
Yeah, I wish I was sitting on stage with you guys right now.
Exactly.
We do too.
That was the best part of Phocuswright.
It was, the bright lights.
Yeah.
So when we talk about innovation accelerating, because you mentioned things that took years are taking months, Michelle, are there some technologies, though, that are temporary? And there's this trend toward, no touch, right? Touchless, contactless, hotels, are, you walk in, you really don't want to see anybody. You want this empty lobby. You want everything to be either through your mobile phone or, some other method. So do we think that is temporary? Is it here to stay? There are some technologies that, we're just instituting now, but we really don't need them going forward.
I would say the following, and I'll be interested in Terry's point of view. First of all, I think it's going to be about customer choice. I don't think we're going to say contactless goes away or contactless is the only option. I think we've given consumers new conveniences that they are going to expect in the new era. And so I think it will be a model where we put more and more control of the experience in the consumer's hands, give her the options. Second thing, though, I think is we're seeing at IBM, and again, certainly in travel, but across industries, a huge acceleration towards artificial intelligence. Now, not in abstract ways, but in very concrete ways. For instance, can your contact centers use AI and chat to really provide a better customer experience, to automate a lot of maybe more routine questions that your employees are freed up for high value? We're seeing a massive acceleration in that case, based on things like the really, really important work ahead of all of us still in diversity and inclusion. We're seeing people bring AI to recruitment, to compensation decisions, to kind of these workflows, these processes that sometimes have been too manual. And then certainly, of course, things like merchandising, et cetera. So I think that there's no doubt the consumer, she will expect more. She will continue to want to have choice. She's learned a lot of great things in this period, and there's some stuff she's going to expect going forward. And I really believe, besides cloud adoption, which continues to accelerate, AI adoption and really re-engineering workflows will be a permanent part of the future.
And Terry, what have you seen? I mean, you've been on 19 boards, right? 5 startups. What's going on in the startup community? What are we seeing? Is there enough money flowing? Are there still creative ideas out there?
I'm still talking to 1 or 2 startups a week. The money is very tight, but I met with somebody yesterday who's built a whole business around SMS for bookings. And the reason they're doing that is it's always on. They can prompt people, they can sell, they can cross-sell. Quite interesting. I agree with Michelle. AI needs to be deployed in travel. Some of I had an AI company with IBM actually over the last several years, and it failed partly because travel is dead last of all industries in the adoption of AI, and that's embarrassing for us. We can do better, right? It should be there, and we should be using voice and many of these other technologies. Some will go away, but I think, touchless and biometrics are going to be here. And people are still finding lots of ways to innovate in, the largest part of online shopping. We're the biggest category. We should be a leader in things like AI and voice. We are seeing other technologies like predictive analytics and drones being used to check airplanes and robotic tugs and all that stuff. But I think in sales, we haven't done enough, and we still haven't done enough in personalization. And the tools are mature now. We should be there and using them. More than we are.
Well said, Terry.
So, Michelle, you took that leap from entrepreneur, right, to pioneer. As I mentioned, one of the few women CEOs in travel. What advice do you have for other entrepreneurs, particularly women, who want to take a similar route?
Well, let me maybe speak to women, but let me also maybe speak to everybody on the topic of D&I and purpose. So first of all, to women, look, I think it's an amazing time to dream big, and my advice is always grit and grace. The grit and the tenacity to pursue your ambition, to pursue your passion, to pursue your dreams, and the grace, because the bigger your dream, the harder it is. The grace to be humble, to learn, to be curious, to pick yourself up when you occasionally fail. To me, those are always the most important lessons. That and surrounding yourself with exceptional people. So that's what I'd say to women. But I would say to everybody, this is a really critical moment for society. And this industry has always been about purpose. It's always been about, can you see the world from a different point of view? Can you understand, can you make sense of something that is different than what you experience every day? That is travel. That is the passion of this industry. That's what motivates, so many people day in and day out. And when you think about that, that is so deeply connected to the premise of diversity and inclusion. And I would just say the following: it is irrefutable that more diverse teams produce better business results. Irrefutable at this point. And if you believe that, if you don't, there's nothing I can say. But if you do believe that, it has to be a business priority. It has to be measured, and you have to hold yourselves accountable. And we are seeing, company after company that follow that recipe make not only significant strides in diversity and inclusion and true representation, but also in their business results. So I think it's a time for all of us to look deeply and say, do we live up to the promise of this industry? Do we actually believe that seeing the world from different points of view produces a better society? If we believe that, we have to believe that in our own companies, and we have to make it an imperative. So I'm excited by the many, many men in this industry and others I see rolling up their sleeves to say that this is the time to really change the trajectory and to make sure that travel represents the world we live in.
Thank you for that, Michelle. And you're welcome to come back to the travel industry anytime. I know we're out of time.
I miss you,
word, Terry.
Martin Luther King did not say, I have a plan. He said, I have a dream. And dreams and explaining your dreams to the rest of the organization are what move you ahead. So Michelle is right on. We have to dream big and then realize that innovation is a dream with a deadline. We have to get it done. So let's see if we can do that.
True. Thank you very much. Terry Jones, Michelle Peluso, thank you.
Wonderful to see Lorraine and Terry, and our best to everybody.
Thanks, guys.